All right, welcome back to the Unnamed Movie Car Podcast, recording live from the mean streets of Los Angeles, which means we watched The Fast and the Furious. I'm Zach.
I'm Gary.
And I'm super excited to dig into this one. This was my pick because we're alternating who picks movies week to week. And why are you already laughing?
Because I was just thinking, we really have to do a shout-out to Craig Lieberman.
We do. We do have to do a shout out to Craig Lieberman. A little bit of inside baseball. This is our third attempt at recording this, and we've shouted out Craig Lieberman. We haven't even gotten to the cast yet. He's top billing now.
I think I want to actually adopt Craig Lieberman as a...
I don't think you legally can because I think he's older than 18. Because he would have been... Oh, my gosh. He would have been -3 at the time of filming.
Excellent.
Because what?
Okay.
It was filmed in 2000.
Yeah, it was filmed. Filmed in 2000.
Oh my gosh.
In 2001.
We're not gonna date ourselves that fast.
Okay.
But this is the Fast and the Furious, the very first introduction to the Fast and Furious world. Directed by Rob Cohen, starring Paul Walker, Vin Diesel, and Michelle Rodriguez. Special shout out to our boy Craig Lieberman.
Yeah.
Also, he's in the movie.
No.
Yeah.
Was he?
He is the guy that starts the drag race during Race Wars. He drops his hands.
Oh, yeah.
That's our boy Craig.
I actually remember
Craig got screen
him.
time, yeah.
I actually remember him doing that.
He's in the movie.
In the desert, the Race Wars in the desert.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very quick.
Yeah.
Quick
no, it's very cool. Yeah.
But so I grew up with this movie. This movie was my pick, and this really shaped car culture for me. Pretty much anyone my age. Highly quoted movie, especially when Paul Walker passed. It had a huge impact on my friends. A lot of the car meets that I go to, things like that. I was sort of coming of age at that point. So that's my take on it. I want to hear your take because you've never watched it all the way through.
Right.
You're a lot older than me.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I am eons.
You're my dad. Why would you not be older than me? It would be weirder if you weren't.
Well, I'm only 3 years older than you, so that's really
mathematically
bizarre.
That's impossible.
Yes, exactly. So, actually, this was my first actual full viewing of the movie, and all the way through. I've seen bits and pieces of it. Never watched the whole thing all the way through. I'm not even sure why I didn't, because I was probably hard working to put a roof over your head and put food on the table. Anyway,
and by the official Fast and Furious nitrous Matchbox set,
I did.
that was it was a Hot Wheels set that would launch the cars.
Yes,
that's what you're doing it for.
Yeah,
Which,
that's what I was doing.
It's so interesting to me that you've never seen this one all the way through because
haven't.
How the heck did I watch it as a kid?
I don't.
Did you just leave me alone in a room and you would just go to Blockbuster once a week and?
Well, no. That is a good question. How did you see this movie? It wasn't on TV, was it?
I remember this podcast isn't about this, but Too Fast, Too Furious. Mm-hmm. I remember we were watching in the living room, and for the first time, I felt a new tooth coming in, breaking through my gum. 2003.
Great. Excellent.
Yeah.
That was probably because we own the DVD, right? So
somewhere.
So we probably have that one. If we were just talking about that, I just bought this DVD. I just bought this film.
I totally forgot with the Blues Brothers.
Yeah.
I want to say where we found all the stuff. Blues Brothers is currently on Amazon Prime for free if you have a membership. So not really free.
Yeah.
And then this movie we got at a local used DVD store.
Yes,
Disc
exactly.
Replay.
I walked in. It just literally took me 2 seconds to walk in, pick it up, and come out. I really wanted to own this movie, mostly because it was such a big deal for you.
Yeah.
Not so much for me, but I just thought, we got to own this movie. So.
Yeah, I think it definitely had a lot of cultural impact for people my age and really shaped car culture.
Yeah.
Because it's something I wanted to get into, and we can get into it now if you want, is that this was a very different car movie than what had been done before.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I was thinking of this at work today. I feel like The Fast and the Furious was a lot more car-driven and less dialogue and writing. Shout out to the writers, but
exactly,
I think it was less dialogue driven. I always think of Bullet, or I think of the Blues Brothers, right? There's so much of those movies. Well, arguably the Blues Brothers isn't a car movie, but
Correct.
Let's say Bullet. There's a lot of talking, a lot of slow scenes, a lot of there's no real slow scenes in the Fast and the Furious.
Yes, that is very true. And I think actually Vin Diesel actually had a wider array of lines in Guardians of the Galaxy as Groot.
Yeah.
So no, he, some of the lines. In fact, we were talking about the line of "I live my life a quarter mile at a time."
Yeah.
And I had talked to Nick about that and said, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Logically, you live your life a quarter mile at a time and you for that 10 seconds or less, I'm free. That 10 seconds is a pretty intense 10 seconds.
I see what you mean. Yeah, I think it was meant to be like, I don't worry about the future.
Okay.
I live in the moment.
Right. Okay.
But like, I definitely understand what you mean. Yeah. There's so much more jargon in this movie.
About the tuna fish sandwiches?
Well, like, here's the thing. I say it's not.
Okay.
I say it's not a dialogue-driven movie, but it's probably the most quoted movie I could think of.
Maybe.
Because like literally when Paul Walker passed, right?
Yeah.
People were putting stickers on the back of their car that said "tuna no crust."
Right. Okay.
Because that's what he ordered at
exactly.
Which, rewatching it, he never says "tuna no crust." He just says "tuna, I want the tuna," and then she goes, "Okay, blah 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 blah," and then he goes, "Oh, and no crust." It's never. It's like the Dirty Harry line that doesn't actually exist. Are you feeling lucky, punk?
Right.
It's, well, do you?
Yeah. Yeah, that's like. Exactly.
I mean, it's just like one of those misquoted lines. But yeah, I just think it was sort of a change in filmmaking in terms of cars.
It was. I mean, it was certainly not Herbie the Love Bug. I mean, that wasn't.
Speaking of which, we will talk about that later.
Okay.
In this podcast,
right.
Something it has an interesting tie-in.
All right. I'll
right, but yeah, it's not Herbie the Love Bug where it's like, there's a lot. It's interesting because there's a story, but there's almost not really a story.
Yeah, there's. I mean, and they certainly are not going to win any kind of Oscar or anything, or they're not going to win any statues for this one. But it kind of was. They sort of had a story, sort of had some cool. I mean, the combination of it made it very fun. And don't get me wrong, it's a fun movie to watch.
Very, very fun movie.
And that's a lot of times you have to think about that. That's really, truly what movies are really about.
Right.
Is entertainment and being entertained. I mean, some of the dumbest movies are really entertaining, and I like them. I mean,
right? Yeah.
I mean,
I remember, man, a couple of years ago now, we came here and we watched Too Fast, Too Furious on the projector screen.
Oh yeah.
And it was a group of maybe 12 of us.
Yeah. 2
of which were girls that my friends had just met like a day or 2 ago.
Really?
Yeah, and we all came down here and watched Too Fast, Too Furious, and had a hoot. It was so fun. We were laughing at it. We made popcorn and all this stuff. I mean, actually, now thinking about it, this was probably 5 years ago. I mean, this was a long time ago.
Well, was that when Bella saw it?
No, Bella saw it a different time. Okay. But it was just it's just a fun movie to watch.
Yeah, well, they seem to all be that way.
Right.
I mean, it's like this. I think this was maybe, because I've seen a couple of them, this was probably, if you're going to call it serious, this was probably one of the most serious ones.
Yeah.
I mean, really without, I don't know.
Yeah.
It just,
so I asked you before watching the movie, what inaccuracies you saw.
Yes, exactly. So one of the inaccuracies, when they were in the desert doing race wars.
Yeah.
And they're pulling off the line.
Yes.
There's no caliper on
the car. Okay, yeah.
So that wasn't, honestly, that I didn't catch that. Nick caught that.
Right, yeah.
Because I, full disclosure, that's my other son.
Yeah.
We just watched it. So Nick is my other son. But the thing is Nick actually paused it, and he said, "What's wrong with it?" And I went, "Duh." And I'm like looking at the screen, and he's going,
it's hard to catch.
Well, and he was very nice about it. He goes, all right, let me go frame by frame. And I'm like, oh, yeah, there's no caliper on that.
Well,
but I thought, I don't know, maybe that was a cool thing or something.
You know that happened to me in real life.
No, what?
You remember this, right?
What?
So when I bought my first red RX-7,
yeah,
and I brought it to Discount Tire,
yeah, well,
and the guy did the same thing. He goes, "What's wrong here?"
Yeah.
And this was my own personal car, and he had the wheel off.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, "You're missing a caliper."
Yeah.
On the rear, in my own actual car, I had driven there.
Yeah.
So I don't blame you for. That was one of the two that I had in mind. That's not the one I thought that you would catch.
Well, I thought you were going to say you didn't blame me for not catching that on your car because I looked at your car before you bought it.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't blame you for that.
Well,
I don't blame you for anything that happened to the red car.
Okay, thanks.
That was my decision wholeheartedly. I told you to, yeah.
Well, that's another story for another day. But so that was kind of a difficult one to catch. I don't know. Honestly, I don't catch things like that like you do. I don't catch the inaccuracies.
So there's actually a lot, and I was looking back today, and there's even more. But during the race. Oh,
okay. The biggest inaccuracy, very little, if no traffic in L.A., and that is impossible. That is not possible.
Yeah. Los Angeles, what?
And another inaccuracy.
Yeah.
Or at least an observation.
Yeah.
In that world of that movie,
right,
there is not one medium attractive person in that
right. Everyone's attractive.
Is super hot all the time, everywhere. I just want to point it out.
It only gets worse throughout the rest of the movies.
It's like,
I remember in one of the later movies, they get a fingerprint for a villain off of like a stripper's butt.
You're kidding.
I swear. I think it might be the fourth one.
But literally, it was like every single shot of every single person.
Right.
I should say women, because there's like one or two men that are,
Yeah.
But
we let Jesse slip by, but he's got the ADHD.
And he talks about that, but I don't think he has ADD. I think he has a version of autism. And I think that's really what he has. But
it would be very interesting to get like a behavioral scientist to watch that movie and watch his actions in the movie.
Yes.
I think it's more spectrum-y than ADHD.
And he talked about MIT, and I guarantee there's a ton of people on the spectrum at MIT because they are brilliant, and people on the spectrum just
they lock in
and blow the doors off of everyone else.
And that's exactly what Jesse does in the movie. He just gets locked in like mentally to this.
Right.
He gets fixated, I guess, which ADHD is sort of the opposite.
Yeah.
You can't really concentrate.
Correct.
It's a whole lot of everything.
You're more like me. You're more like, hey, shiny thing over there.
Yeah.
So I'm more like, oh, what's going? Hey, let's talk about this or that. I have a lot of questions for you, but
okay.
Anyway, you were asking me about
inaccuracies.
What I saw, inaccuracies. There's not much else that I see except for the fact that they drank a lot of Corona. And
which I have a fact about that.
Okay.
Which actually, when I turned 21, that was like my favorite beer for a little while, just because of the movies. And I didn't know what to ask for. My friends were like, "What do you want?"
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, "Dominic Toretto had a Corona." So the biggest inaccuracy, the one that gets quoted a lot, is the danger to manifold.
The danger to manifold. Is that the one about
when they're racing?
Yeah.
And he has the laptop in the passenger seat.
Yes.
And it says danger to manifold.
Yes. Yeah.
What does that mean? You have an intake manifold, right? Okay, you have an intake manifold and you have an exhaust manifold.
Right.
Okay, those are two manifolds.
Right.
But what ends up happening?
Yeah.
The floor falls out.
Well, that you know what?
The floor how?
How did the I think the pins came out of the floorboard or something, and then it like exploded up. I don't know how.
What would cause bolts to back themselves out? First of all, he's not using red Loctite like he's been taught. I mean, second of all, what car that at the time was only 5 years old? It was a 95, which we'll get to in a second.
Yeah.
Why would it? The floor pans are never They're never like pieces of metal. Like, unless you're driving like an old pickup truck where the floor is legitimately gone and you put a patch panel in.
Yeah.
But so that's one of the biggest jokes of it, because like I assume the filmmakers thought that they were like, just being legit. Danger to manifold sounds legit.
Yeah.
But then the floor falls out. Like,
well, yeah, that didn't
what
make
would
any
cause
sense.
that?
No, that didn't make any sense at all. In fact, those are some of the questions that I had for you.
Yeah.
Because you know really truly more about cars than I do. And some of the talk and some of the things that they were talking about, I was like, wait, is that like true? Is that like wait a minute?
So what questions did you have?
Well, I mean there was things like when they first walk over to his car.
Yeah.
And it's the first time that he's going to race Toretto.
Right. They pop the hood on the Eclipse and he's pointing out stuff. Yeah.
Would they have been able to see or know that stuff just from looking at it? They would?
I mean, like, if you were pretty well versed in, like, Eclipse stuff.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to just pop a hood and just start pointing out things. Now, the interesting thing is that he points out the turbo in there. Yeah. That car was not actually turboed.
Oh, it wasn't?
In the movie, it's supposed to be, and it makes turbo noises. Yeah. But I have written down here from Craig Lieberman's website.
Okay, Craig Lieberman. Ding,
that
ding, ding.
It had the factory base model engine in it, which is just a 2-liter non-turbo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it was supposed to.
But yeah, you could. I mean, I could pop the hood of my car and be like, well, most of my stuff is factory, but like that was a custom fuse box, and I have the Atkins rotary oil cap on it.
Okay.
I could point out little stuff like that.
I guess
that would probably actually happen. But the idea of, well, maybe Jesse, but like, someone knowing all those products on like tons of different cars is very slim, especially coming from the fact that he drives a Volkswagen and works on like a Supra, which is Toyota, and Volkswagen, which is not anywhere near Mitsubishi.
Well, and I know from, when I was in mechanic school and we would have cars come in, there was just so many cars that there were varied. Just like you said, there were so many cars that were varied that I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, like for me, having reviewed over 500 cars, I know a little about a lot. If that makes sense. Like, I know a little bit, like, I know, like, engine displacements and, like, engine names and stuff for a lot of cars, but, like the Camaro I drove today, the 2021 Camaro.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't pop the hood and start naming off parts.
Okay.
I mean, I could, I could point to be like, that's the main pulley because it's the biggest one.
Sure. Yeah.
Or I could say, hey, that's a washer bottle because, like stuff like that.
Oh, yeah,
but
yeah.
No, I couldn't start naming off parts or anything like that because, I'm not well versed in Camaros, even though I've pulled the engine of one time.
Yeah, and right. And I guess if you lived in that world and you... Right. That's what you did, and maybe you would know those parts really well, but it just seemed like I was going, is that accurate? I don't know.
Yeah, so. I think in Jesse's case, yes, but like if Michelle Rodriguez started doing it, I'd be like,
right, yeah.
Let's take it back here.
She plays, doesn't she play? Is it Vin Diesel's girlfriend? She's so angry.
Yeah,
she's so angry all the time.
I think she's an angry person. I remember her from the SWAT movie.
Right.
Yes. And she's a very big voice actor in the Halo franchise.
Is she really?
Yeah. Well, like just like Marines in the background. There's literally, I think she's the only female Marine voice.
Gotcha.
So like you'll hear like her "oorah" like in the background, like in the fight sequences. Yeah. But it's definitely her. Like you can tell.
Yeah. There is. I was talking to a friend of mine who's a voiceover artist, and he was telling me something that they do for background vocals called Walla, Walla.
Okay.
And all it is people talking, and they basically they talk, but not in any known language. So they'll say a thing like, I can't do it, but but he talks in something like, and what they'll do is they'll take that and they'll play it really low as background so that you don't hear conversations in the background, but there are conversations. So she probably did stuff like that.
Interesting.
For Halo and for games.
Well, I remember she had specific lines too, but but
she just
stuff like that too. Yeah.
I mean, in the whole movie, she was just so angry.
Yeah.
Just so angry. It's like
the whole franchise. She's like that.
Yeah, but I don't. It's just to me, it's like, wow, that's an unattractive person who is angry all the time like that. It's like, okay, chill out,
Yeah.
relax a little bit, you know.
That and was it Vince?
Yeah, Vince.
I hated him. And
it's true.
He gets stuck on the truck, right? That guy is that Vince?
Yes,
I hate him throughout the entire franchise.
And we'll talk about the trucks, by the way, in a little bit. But yes, remind me about some of that, the stuff with the trucks.
Well, no, go for it.
All right. So what I was going to say about
we're definitely going to forget.
Okay, you're absolutely right. The thing with the trucks is, like in every movie, I would say probably 99.9% of the movies, my first question is, why doesn't the truck stop? Why doesn't the truck just hit his brakes?
Right.
He's in a giant truck. They're in tiny little cars around him.
Well, Dad, they're carrying the most precious of cargo, which is DVD players. I mean, how dated of cargo could you get?
DVD players, which you can now buy for what, $10? I think at Walmart.
I think they're negative money now. People pay you to take them. Yeah. I mean,
it is, but yeah, okay, fine. At the time, maybe he had a lot, but my question would be again. I mean, he keeps rolling down the highway, and a guy launches a gun with a Gatling hook and all this, all this stuff at him, and he keeps rolling. He's reloading his shotgun, and he's shooting at him, and it's like he's not having a good day. This is not a good trucker day.
Yeah.
People are jumping all over the truck. Why didn't he
just
stop the truck?
Yeah.
They race ahead. He restarts the truck. I mean, it wasn't like he had no...
Well, see, you're fishing for realism, though, in the Fast and Furious world, and that can't...
It is true.
I mean, you're grasping at straws here.
Okay, I did talk about L.A. traffic. So, I mean, it's...
One of the best parts of the movie, though, I think one of the best acting parts of the movie, really, truly... And this is a spoiler. I mean, this whole should be known as these podcasts are spoiler alerts.
We should just say that in the beginning.
Yeah, this should be the Unnamed Spoiler Alert Movie Car Podcast.
Right.
Was when they're helping Vince in the field, and Brian pulls out his phone and gives his badge number.
Yeah.
And Vin Diesel looks up at him.
Yeah.
That was I thought, even as a kid and even today, I thought that was a very tense moment.
Yeah.
And I thought that was actually sort of
yes,
not breathtaking, because nothing in the movie's breathtaking, but like I was kind of like, oh, like that part always gets me if I'm like, oh, like the jig is up.
Right.
Like the jig is definitely up.
Right. And he did it because he had to and blah, blah, blah. That is a great, it's a great scene. There's no doubt about it, because it's a real pivot point. I mean, it really takes, when you talk about movies and how movies are put together, there are certain pivot points in movies, and that was definitely one of them, where I was
Vin Diesel.
I want to call him Toretto, but
that's his last name in the movie.
What's his first name?
Dominic.
Dom
Toretto.
Dom. Okay, so Dom. And whenever I think of Dom DeLuise. So I put Dom DeLuise's face into that.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, it is, and we will get to that in the next movie, which is we're gonna do. Now I was gonna say Smokey and the Bandit. It's not Smokey and the Bandit.
No.
It is
Cannonball Run.
Cannonball Run. I was gonna say The Great Race, but that's not The Great Race. Anyway, so yes, that is a great scene. It's a pivotal scene, but what I found the most incredible about that scene is that he had cell phone reception. He was in the middle of the desert.
Kidding.
He was in the middle of the desert. He had phone, and that was back before 3G or before.
That was like negative
1G.
G. Yeah.
But he had perfect cell phone rejection. He had
reception,
perfect cell phone reception, and so yes, it was definitely it definitely was a pivotal scene, and I agree, and I like the way that they made it so that he couldn't react to it.
Yeah.
There wasn't much he could do about this whole thing. And that sets the final conclusion of the movie into action, where he's like, yeah, I know you're a cop now. And now that kid comes back. What's his name? Vincey or whatever?
Vince?
No, not Vince.
Brian?
No, not
Jesse?
No. Is it the kid who has
what kid?
autism?
Jesse.
It's Jesse.
Yeah.
Jesse comes back with his car that he lost to that jerk guy.
Yeah, Johnny Tran.
Johnny Tran, exactly.
Yeah.
And who was also in the James Bond film Die Another Day.
Oh,
Yeah, he was. So
with the Jaguar, right?
Yes, he was the bad guy in that one too. So he plays a good bad guy. But that was the great part about it is because okay, now you're setting all of this stuff into motion. How is this going to work out? How is this going to, that's one of the things that makes a movie fun to see what the ending is. How is it going to turn out?
Yeah.
Because in this one, really, they left it open. Like, okay, here's the keys to my car. Go drive away, and I'm going to get in big trouble with my bosses, but that's okay. I'm going to deal with it. And then, of course, he runs away, as you see in the epilogue.
The supercharged prelude.
Supercharged prelude that, I guess makes sense now. But,
yeah.
Because he races his way to Florida and buying cars that he could never actually buy as he goes from one end to the other, which is interesting. So for people that like me that didn't know, talk about the fact of him buying a car that he couldn't have bought.
Well, so let's talk about the cars of the first one, and then we'll get into that because it's on my list.
Okay, good. All right.
So the cars, first of all, he starts off with the 1995 Mitsubishi Eclipse. It's the second gen. It's the green one. It's supposed to have the 2-liter 4G63 engine in it, which is pretty big for like the Evo and things like that. But in all reality, the actual filming car had the 2-liter naturally aspirated motor called the 420A. That was not great. 5-speed manual. But also, as we have stated we hate on the podcast, was also sold as the Eagle Talon. Yeah.
The Eagles. Okay.
So,
Eagle.
Not the best. Next up, we have Dom's 1970 Dodge Charger.
Yes.
The black one.
That's awesome, yeah.
Yeah, 528 cubic inch. So that's an 8.6 liter supercharged V8, 3-speed automatic.
Wait, 3-speed automatic?
Yeah.
In real life or what in the movie?
That's what it said online. It was a Torque Flight 3-speed.
Oh, okay. Wow.
We have Brian's Supra, which is the 3-liter twin-turbo straight-six, which is the 2JZ. That's why he says 2JZ, no shit. That's the engine code is 2JZ.
Okay.
There's the 1JZ, which was found in like the Chaser, end of the 3rd-gen Supra, things like that. I've driven a 1JZ before.
Yeah.
The 2J is like, it's a very, very famous engine.
Is it?
Very famous. Because you can build it to about 1,000 horsepower on stock internals.
Wow.
Just get a bigger turbo, bigger injectors, throw a bunch of boost at it, and it'll make 1,000 horsepower, and it'll stay together, which is very impressive for an engine that comes from the factory.
So in that respect, they did know what they were talking about, right? I mean,
he goes pop the hood, it's a 2JZ, but if you look at the rest of the car, there's no way the rest of that car was fixable.
Oh, no. You mean, the one he brought in on the truck?
Yeah.
Yeah, I laughed at that because you and I both have worked on cars.
Yeah.
We've worked on bodies, as well as engines and all sorts of stuff.
15 grand, no way. There's no way to fix that. No
way. No, there's.
But 6-speed manual in that car. It's a 95 Supra Mark IV. I mean that car is so iconic. I would argue that's the most iconic Fast and Furious car. Maybe the Skyline from the second one.
Okay.
But I think the orange Supra was pretty up there.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a...
Yeah.
That's a cool car, though. It is a really cool car. There's no doubt.
The Honda Civics.
Yeah, there's a lot of
with the green
Civics.
underglow.
Yeah.
The
because that stands out.
Yeah, which those I think in the movie they said that they had turbos on them, but for filming they were the stock engines, the 1.5 liter inline fours making 102 horsepower.
You're kidding.
And they were base model Civics because they didn't have sunroofs.
Oh,
I believe.
Wait, didn't they have a sunroof? Because they pop out of the sunroof to shoot the gun at
You're
the
right.
truck.
They weren't base models. They were DXs.
All right.
DEXs?
Yeah.
Something like that.
That, by the way, I think was honestly the dumbest way to ever break into a truck or to hijack a truck. That one I was like, do something different. Anyway.
Johnny Tran's 2000 Honda S2000.
Yeah, those are nice. I've driven one of those.
2-liter inline four, which is the F20C engine, and it was actually supercharged in the movie.
Wow.
And the car they filmed with was actually supercharged as well.
It's a nice, fast car.
Yeah, they're quick.
Yeah.
Gotta love a 1993 Mazda RX-7,
Of
13B
course,
REW
yeah.
twin turbo, 1.3-liter rotary engine, 5-speed manual. Tons of fun to drive. Not very fast, but
Yeah.
fun. And then Jesse's 1995 Volkswagen Jetta.
Yeah.
Which was missing the caliper.
You know, a lot of people really like, and you can speak more about this, a lot of people really love Jettas.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Jettas? You've driven them, haven't you?
I like them. I've driven a bunch of Jettas. I really like them. They become problem childs after
Really? Yeah.
after like 60, 70,000 miles. A lot of German cars start to have a lot of issues.
Yeah. Okay.
I think they're really over-engineered. They're fantastic cars when they're good, but they're very terrible cars to work on.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I'll give you that.
Couple other cars that were in like the gang: 1997 Nissan 240SX, 1999 Nissan Maxima, and 1995 Nissan Skyline GTR R33. So that GTR R33 was imported for the movie. It was the yellow car, which makes no sense that it was a background car. You couldn't even get here in the States. They had to get like they had to import it as a prop.
Yeah.
You can just now buy those in the States as of like 2 or 3 years ago because they hit the 25-year-old rule.
So you were saying, and that was one thing you were explaining to me before about the 25-year rule, which is one of the reasons why, like you said, that actually couldn't have existed or happened.
Right.
Because it would have been, pulled off the streets? I mean, what would they do?
It would have been illegal to import. You wouldn't have been able to title it or register it or anything like that.
Yeah. I don't see those guys standing in the line at the DMV.
Yeah, no.
I don't know. Here, do
I
the
don't
eye
think
test.
so.
Vince, do the eye test. I don't want to do the eye test.
Definitely not. So that is something interesting, which we see a lot more in the second movie. And when we do the second movie, we can talk more about.
So the second movie is Too Fast, Too Furious?
Yes.
Okay. So that I think we actually have, and we can
Yes.
talk about that, and we can. Because I would watch that again. It's a fun one. Ejectocito, is like one of my favorites, and I think it's just fun.
Yeah.
Again, another fun movie. So I think though that I can see where this franchise had a lot of ways it could go. It had a lot of
And I think they went the wrong direction.
Do you?
Well, because they all of the new ones are just heist movies. They focus too much on the heist.
Okay.
When Fast and Furious went big, I assume there was a board meeting where they were like, all right, what made this movie so good? And they all came up with it being the heist sequence, which is not at all what made the movie good.
Yeah.
Because now, I mean, they're stealing safe vaults. They're international secret agents.
Right. When we get into those movies, we could talk more about that, like the physics of pulling a vault behind a car. Jumping from one side of the highway to the other on a tank. I mean, it's just, there's a lot of, screw you physics. And you fly through that stuff. So I just thought, okay, so that's a good point then. If you were the director or if you were the studio and you said, okay, what direction should we take this in? Well, what do you feel you would have done?
I definitely would have had a higher emphasis on cars and car modifying. I stopped watching the Fast and Furious movies after the 8th one.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I made it pretty far.
You did.
Because in the 8th one, I remember I saw it in the theaters with Bella.
Okay.
And there's one scene where they go into, they call it like the cathedral or something, and it's just like they're on like not forklifts, but like lifts, Yeah. And it's just like rows and towers of cars, and they pick their fun car for the heist.
Really?
That's the only like car scene in that movie. Is that was it Roman Pierce picks the Murcielago, the orange Lamborghini.
Okay.
Ludacris picks something.
Yeah.
And then whatever. Like they pick their cars for the heist, but that's the only time where they're like, "Oh, look at this cool car." The rest of it, it's all heist movie. They're driving on ice, they're driving through London, blah blah blah.
Yes. I think really, heist movies tend to do well overall, and it's something that has kept things. Well, look at Ocean's 11,
Right.
12, 13, blah blah blah. Heist movies are a specific genre that you can do a lot with. It just it's a driver that they could have used. However, I don't know. Maybe they thought they couldn't get enough people to follow them if they were like racers. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the other thing was that the first 3 movies, so Fast and Furious, Too Fast, Too Furious, and Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, all of the cars in the movies, because they were low-budget movies, not low budget, but not high budget, they were all affordable, obtainable cars. I've driven most of the cars in the first 2, well, really 3 movies.
Wow.
I've driven a good handful of them. I haven't driven a Mark IV Supra yet, although I will hopefully at the end of this summer when my friend finishes his 2J build. I haven't driven I haven't driven a 70s Charger, but that's it. I've driven an RX-7, I've driven an S2000, I've driven a Jetta, I've driven an Eclipse, I've driven, all of that stuff I've driven before. So what I'm saying is that it was very easily obtainable, these cars.
Yeah.
It felt like, leaving the theater, it felt like, oh, I could be part of Fast and Furious.
I see.
When I went to car meets as a kid, when COVID wasn't a thing, and back when car meets were actually fun and not terrible like they are now.
What? Why do you call it? Why do you say they're terrible now?
They're so bad now.
Why?
They're so bad. Going to a car meet is horrible. It's
you
like
mean during
pulling
COVID,
teeth.
or do you?
No, just because of the people that go now.
Really?
Yeah, people buy. It's no longer, for a time, when I first got my license and when I had my first RX-7 for a little bit, it was very much a place for enthusiasts to meet up.
Yeah.
You'd talk about cars like they did in the movies. Sometimes people would race. I remember going to meets and thinking like, wow, this is real life Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
But now.
Because, I would always race the Model A.
Right, the Model A, that speed demon. Now it's turned into just, it's just a place for kids to meet up.
Yeah.
So you start to get the smoking. You start to get the drinking.
Okay.
You start to get the super loud music that gets you kicked out. It's some kid, and maybe it's just our area, but it's some kid in his dad's Ford Mustang doing a burnout in the Chuck E. Cheese parking lot. Seriously, Chuck E. Cheese said that there was thousands of dollars worth of damage done to their parking lot.
Really?
Yeah, the one here in town.
Yeah.
They just opened when COVID started. And then,
oh, you mean the one in the mall, the big mall by the dollar store?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you look there's so many tire marks.
Okay.
Because people were doing a burnout. They've made a burnout box.
But that's right next to the main roads. Why would you do that?
It's so stupid. It's so dumb.
That's a
but
very
that's the
open
thing
area.
is that people ruin it. Is that people do burnouts, they rev their engines, they don't get permission, blah, blah, blah. Back when I was younger and I first got my license, first of all, Paul Walker had just passed when I got my license.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So there was a Paul Walker meetup at a stadium, and there was thousands of cars that came through. No one was revving their engines. No one was doing burnouts. It was just this enthusiast meetup. Yeah. I saw a couple RX-7s there. This was right before I bought my own RX-7.
Wow.
So they used to be a lot better. The meet scene right now, I think, is just at a low. And it seems to kind of come and go.
You know what you need?
What?
Clowns.
No.
You need
nothing
clowns. I think
nothing in the history of ever has ever needed more clowns.
Stilt walkers, clowns.
I forgot why
jugglers.
I started talking about meats.
Because I asked you. I said why you talked about the fact that in the
it's
movie.
Relatable. Yeah. So
in the movie, it was like going to a meet.
I remember distinctly there was a meet that I brought my red RX-7 to, the 13B swapped RX-7, and there was an FD. There was a Supra. There was at the time an R32 Skyline. My friend Andy brought his R32 Skyline, a little bit older generation than the one in the movie, but still imported. From Japan. And I remember, I remember distinctly, I was driving the RX-7 down 75th, and my floor mat got stuck under my clutch. My floor mat slid up and got stuck under the clutch.
Did you blow the intake manifold?
No, I didn't. It was not a danger to my manifold. But I remember I was in the 13B RX-7.
Yeah.
And I pulled over just on the shoulder between 53 and Green Road. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And so I pulled over, threw my hazards on. Andy pulled in his Skyline, his imported Skyline, threw the hazards on.
Yeah.
And then Dustin pulled up in his Jetta. And we all had like our flashers on, and they were like, we were all checking them. Like, and I was like, man, like I feel like I'm in the Fast and Furious right now. Like we all have these hot cars.
Yeah.
And like it was just so cool. So
that's very cool.
Be all arcing story of that was like it was easily relatable. What the movie was, the Fast and Furious was easily relatable, just like how you related to the Blues Brothers owning a Monaco and stuff.
Because that was attainable. It was
Obviously, I had an RX-7. You know, a lot of my friends had a lot of the cars. I think Ja Rule drives a Integra in the movie. It's a red Integra. My friend Felix had an almost identical red Integra. That I once shot flames at on accident.
Really?
Did I tell you this story?
No.
So downtown, there was a guy holding the picture of the dead fetus.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And he's screaming about how abortion's murder and stuff.
Yes.
And so this was like, this is probably a month after I 13B swapped the RX-7.
Okay.
And so I had my laptop in the passenger seat, like Brian.
Right.
And I set up a rev limiter.
Yeah.
I set it at 3,500.
Yeah.
And Felix is behind me in his red Integra. And the guy's yelling at us about how abortion's murder and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I looked over at him and I go, what? Like I did like the ear thing. And he starts yelling directly at me like abortion's murder, God is watching or whatever.
Yeah.
And I let it rip on the red line and whop, pop, 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 and just started shooting fire out the back. And I remember he just stopped yelling and was just staring at me. And then the light turned green and I went. This was actually this was the same night I pulled over for my floor mat.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I remember this because we went to this meet that was a couple towns over, and I remember when we got to the meet, Felix was like, "What was that about?" And I was like, "I was just messing with the guy on the side of the road." And he's like, "You shot like 2-foot flames at my front bumper." Because we were like lined up like back to back.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, we looked and luckily I didn't melt anything.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, it's and okay, so I know, and I've witnessed, and your mom has witnessed flames coming out of the tailpipe. So,
yeah.
But I've witnessed that. I get it. So when in the movie, they're at the starting line, and it's the first time that he's racing Dom. You know, Brian is racing Dom.
And there's the shot of all the tailpipes.
All the tailpipes shooting
That would probably
flames.
never happen.
I was
going to
say
like that.
that's
Well, they were probably set up on two-step systems like my car was.
Yeah. Man, there was a lot of flames coming out of all of them.
That's just for show. I mean, like, if I set up my car on two-step, it would do that, but rotaries are different.
Yeah. Well,
it's
he had a rotary, right? Technically?
Technically, yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird that a piston engine would so, like, steadily go pop, pop,
that's
pop,
true.
pop, pop.
Yes, that is true.
Because of just the way the reciprocating pistons go.
Yeah.
Rotary, it's always spinning.
Yeah.
So it's pop, 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 pop. Like, it's a lot different.
So, interestingly, I remember reading about, this is going to sound odd, but the Batmobile. The Batmobile in the 60s, from the 60s TV show, the Batmobile had what was supposed to be a jet engine in the back. And evidently, they had, that was like an exhaust with spark plugs that would catch any of the...
that's the thing you can do. And probably what they did for the movie, I don't have any evidence.
Okay.
But it used to be an old trick that you would put a spark plug in your exhaust pipe.
Okay. Yeah.
And you would route it kind of like an OBD2, or not OBD2 sensor. Like an O2 sensor, essentially.
Okay.
Like there would be a bung, and there would actually be a physical spark plug at the end of your tailpipe for flames.
Yeah.
I would not doubt it if that's what they did for the movie.
Okay.
Although some of the flames were blue, so they were actually burning something.
Yeah.
It wasn't
just seemed way over the line for that.
It wouldn't be that aggressive.
Yeah.
And plus, they would be two-stepping if it were actual two-step. It's to get this turbo to spool before you go off, right?
Okay.
Because normally a turbo will spool, like a higher spooling turbo will spool at like 4,000 RPM before it starts actually making boost.
Yeah.
So in a race, when you're starting at like 1,000 RPM, there's a lag. You get no turbo up until you hit 4,000 RPM.
Okay.
So the point of two-stepping is that if you're revving it at 4,000, it's making boost, and once you just dump the clutch, you're already in boost, and you make more power.
That makes a lot of sense. It really does. So that leads me to my next question of realism. I don't know, because I've never had a car and I've never used nitrous. Do you know, is that how nitrous works? In like how they have it in the movie where you hit a button and
it can be.
Oh, okay.
Again, hopefully this year, I've been talking to my friend Nick. My friend Nick has a Dodge Ram V6 manual that's on nitrous.
Really?
But he won't buy a bottle heater. So you can't you have to have a bottle warmer for nitrous.
Really?
If it's outside the vehicle. So like his is in the bed of the truck.
Oh, okay.
So it's way too cold to run nitrous all the time.
Gotcha.
So you have to take a blowtorch to it, which is super unsafe.
Yeah.
You can have it hooked up to a button. However, it's kind of stupid to do that.
Yeah.
Because it kind of shocks the engine. I mean, if you're sitting here and you just hit it,
that's
and
what
it's
I mean. Yeah.
So what he has on his truck is it's like boost by gear, but it's nitrous by gear.
Oh.
And so what it is if you're more than 50%, it's through the computer, and once you're more than 50% throttle, so or 50% to wide open throttle, and you're above 3,000, it turns it on.
Okay.
And then up at the upper end, it turns it off.
Right.
So it actually senses. There's no button. It's just it makes the curve a lot steeper.
Okay, that would make sense to me, and you know, because my question would be, how would you tune that car if that was the case? Because when you hit it with nitrous, wouldn't that throw it off? Wouldn't that like really?
Yeah, I'm not super versed on nitrous tuning, although I do have the capability for my car.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Yeah.
I have, if I have the right sensors, I can hook up nitrous.
Yeah.
Tuner Studio, which I use for my Megasquirt ECU, allows for nitrous.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if when you hit the button, it'll switch over to an alternate fuel map.
Oh, okay. All right.
Or what would happen. What is clearly fake in those scenes is when they get thrown back in their seat.
Okay.
Nitrous does not kick like that.
Really?
Because it's still limited by the mechanical, physical engine parts.
Okay.
Right? So it's not like you definitely notice a difference, and it would go like wah to like wah,
Okay.
But it wouldn't throw you back in your seat quite like that. That's pretty jerky and pretty
it seems. I mean, and that's got to be something for obviously movie magic and trying to make it seem like it's this powerful thing and all of that. I just think it just makes you feel like, oh well, I just throw a bottle of this explosive gas in my car and then I'll just push a button and it'll be like a rocket and all of that. And it sounds like you can truly get a boost with nitrous, obviously, but not like what you see in the movie.
Yeah. You can. Here's the interesting thing about nitrous, which I've been learning a lot more about, is you can. They call it spraying.
Okay.
You can spray any car. We were gonna spray the G6 one night.
Oh, okay.
If you take the air filter off, and you just set the nozzle in front of the air intake, and spray it, it acts like carb cleaner.
Oh, okay.
You know how it revs up like that?
Sure.
It's just it's carb cleaner on steroids. So we seriously thought about one night, we were having some drinks over at Alex's house, and Nick was like, I got my kit. We could spray your G6 tonight. And I'm like, I don't know. I was like, I gotta get home.
Well, I know. I mean, we used to actually run some of our older cars where we'd flip the air cleaner upside down when we had the pan air cleaners.
Oh, that's such a myth.
Yeah, well, we would flip them
to open it up a little bit.
Yeah, but we'd also sometimes you'd have to stick a screwdriver down to get it started, because you'd open up the butterfly valve with the screwdriver.
Yeah.
To get it started, and then usually it would be like way too much gas, or you'd actually pour gas into it to get it started. The old carbureted engines, and then it would shoot flames out of it because it ignited all that stuff. and then as more of a joke than anything, you'd flip the you'd flip the top of the air cleaner upside down.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah,
That's an old style hot rodding sort of thing.
Exactly. And it was goofy. It was like a goofy. That was like if to do a hood scoop that does nothing. Like literally.
Getting back to this movie, the Eclipse.
Yep.
Had a roof scoop.
A roof scoop.
If you notice in the movie, the car has a roof scoop.
Why? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because here's the thing.
Yeah.
Roof scoops are very effective for rear-engine cars.
I was gonna say, yeah. Why would
it channels air from the roof down like a Lotus?
Right. Okay.
Or
fine.
like a Lamborghini would.
Right.
Mid-engine stuff, MR2s. An Eclipse, where's that air going?
Right.
It's not getting channeled back down into the engine.
Yeah.
Unless he had a rear-mounted intercooler or rear-mounted radiator that was in place of the back seat.
Maybe.
But no. I mean, we see in the movie that it's not.
Yeah.
So the roof scoop, completely pointless.
Okay. And that's one of those things I would never have caught. But it does make a lot of sense now that you'd be no reason to have it or use it or whatever.
Right.
So,
so we can get into some trivia if you'd like.
Okay, let's do some trivia.
Not sponsored by IMDb, but completely pulled from IMDb.
Okay.
First one. I mean, here's the interesting thing about the IMDb trivia as well.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot having to do with cars.
Really? Yeah.
The Blues Brothers, it was way easier to find trivia about the Bluesmobile than it was cars in this car movie.
Wow. Okay. Interesting that they would do that. I don't know. I mean, I don't know who makes the trivia up.
I don't know either. It could be anyone. Yeah. But first one, during the race wars, real-life drivers brought their cars to participate in the huge scene, and there's over 1,000 cars there.
Wow.
Which was pretty cool.
It is pretty cool,
Also, what's sort of interesting is that events like that didn't really happen for tuner cars.
Really?
In 2001,
there
weren't a whole lot of events. I'm not going to say they didn't exist, but tuner Japanese cars, that really wasn't a thing. Especially drag racing tuner cars has never been a thing.
Okay.
Tuner cars are not for drag racing, which is all of this movie.
Okay, so what are tuner cars for? Just for fun sport? Just
curvy roads.
Okay. Right.
As we'll talk about, I'm sure in other episodes, toge battles, things like that. Toge is mountain pass in Japanese.
Okay.
And so in Japan, they coined this term or this competition. It's called toge racing, where you have one car lead, one car follow, and the follow car has to pass the lead car, and the lead car just has to maintain lead.
Oh, okay.
So it's a form of racing, but they do it on extreme mountain roads, where it's almost no straights, and that's where drifting comes from, and blah blah blah.
Okay.
Right, but what
I was gonna say, it reminded me a lot of Seven Stock, even though there wasn't drag racing and stuff at Seven Stock. But just the fact of being out in the middle of the plains.
Yeah, actually, Seven Stock started the year that this movie came out.
Really?
Yeah, so it wasn't even a thing. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Grid Life didn't happen, which Grid Life is a huge event. But getting back to the point, no, you do not drag. There's a few crazy people down in like Nebraska and Florida that drag race Honda Civics.
Okay.
But they build them to be like 1,000 horsepower.
Wow.
You're not drag racing a 300 horsepower Honda Civic. Well, my friend John did, but that was more for just a video purpose. He doesn't drag race. Those cars are meant because they're not fast in a straight line. Dom's Charger, 100% built for drag racing.
Sure.
But Honda Civics, prime example, S2000s, amazing track cars because they're not super fast in the straights.
Okay.
But they're so light and nimble that they can carry speed through corners.
Okay,
so
I can see that. Yeah.
On like momentum tracks like Autobahn South, S2000s are king. I mean, Adam in his base stock Miata, 1.8 Miata, was running down a Camaro SS and was on his tail. Like he stuck with a Camaro SS that made 4 times the horsepower.
Wow.
Because Adam could hold speed through corners, and I think he actually ended up passing him. The Camaro. he passed the Camaro.
The Camaro SS?
Yeah.
Wow.
He
okay.
passed
All right.
an almost
wow.
500 horsepower V8 in a 118 horsepower Miata
Wow.
because the Camaro had to slow down so much because it was so heavy.
Yeah.
He has to brake usually at the third brake marker, which is the furthest brake marker.
Okay.
They're on the brake. It's very interesting. You got to come out to the track.
I will definitely
it's
come
very
out
fun
to the
to
track.
watch
Yeah.
because then you see the Camaros and Mustangs and GTRs. They start braking at the 3.
Yeah.
Adam's braking at the 1 or the half. So he's basically in the corner before he's really touched the brakes.
Oh, wow.
So he can carry speed through the corners where the bigger, heavier cars have to slow down.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it's a whole thing. But yeah, getting back to the point, Race Wars, it would not be drag racing. But events like that started happening after this movie. This movie actually started events like that.
That's interesting.
Now we have the whole Grid Life series, which is a concert, it's a
Really?
3-day concert. Waka Flocka and Soulja Boy went.
Oh wow.
I know you don't know who they are, but they're two young whippersnappers that say words all funny.
I know who Soulja Boy
but
is.
it's normally there's 5 different festivals throughout the year. There's Midwest, South, North, and they did a Colorado Pikes Peak last year. And
Nice,
there's music, there's a car show, there's drifting, there's racing. And it's legitimately, it's not in the desert like in this movie, but it's thousands of cars go, all enthusiasts.
All right.
But that sprouted up after the Fast and Furious came out.
It
wasn't really a thing before that.
That's pretty cool. I mean, it's pretty cool that a movie would have that effect on on society, because there's a whole social group that came up because of that. But interesting, yeah.
So getting on with
trivia.
Dominic's RX-7 originally had a roll cage. It was removed to accommodate Vin Diesel's physique.
Really?
Yeah. So you don't need crash safety when you got biceps, apparently. Which I don't blame him. The FD interior is tight.
It is.
I would say it's probably the tightest of the generations of RX-7. The FC, the second gen, is by far the most comfortable. My first gen is probably the second most comfortable.
Yeah, I thought the first gens were pretty tight.
Yeah, the third gens are even tighter.
Really?
Yeah, because the dashboard swoops towards you.
Oh, okay.
And then it has like high bolsters. I don't fit very well in FDs.
Okay.
If I got an FD, I would definitely have to modify the seat and probably either lower it down or get like a different wider seat or something. Yeah. It's a very driver's-oriented car. Everything faces the driver.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of wiggle room. And I've driven, I think it's like 8 FDs or something. I mean, I've driven a lot of third-gen RX-7s, left and right-hand drive, and it's the same story. So,
wow.
Yeah.
For both, wow.
Yeah. The first street race scene is supposedly a quarter mile long, taking approximately 10 seconds. That's where 10-second car comes in.
Right.
So they keep bringing that up in the movie. You owe me a 10-second car.
Right, yeah.
It's a 10-second quarter mile car, which is blindingly fast.
Yeah, it is.
Not blindingly fast.
I mean, it's very fast.
But there's a small number of production cars that can actually hit that.
Sure.
The Dodge Demon, the 800 horsepower Dodge Demon, did barely a sub 10 second in the quarter.
Yeah, but that's smoking fast.
Yeah, I mean, that's a $70,000 muscle car.
Right.
That's supercharged and makes 816 horsepower.
Yeah.
From a supercharged V8. But anyway, however, the race takes almost 2 minutes of screen time and shows the vehicles driving in excess of 150 miles an hour.
That's true.
Which is faster than even a 1,200 horsepower Bugatti Veyron can accomplish in a quarter mile.
You know, that is very true. That is one thing I totally...
Yeah, I did not realize until this trivia that it was supposed to be a quarter mile. I just always assumed it was like a 3 mile.
Yeah, I did too, because I don't remember them talking about a quarter mile. Yeah. But I do, and I thought, okay, well, they're racing. They're racing to somewhere and back. Isn't there one of the movies where they race like to the end and back? Like they have to go around a circle?
Second one. Second one, Too Fast, Too Furious.
Right.
That's when they bring in the Janko Camaro, which is a big scene.
Okay. And that's where I remembered that. But that's what I was thinking, that this was like this long race, where it was a certain distance And, okay, 140 miles an hour. That's
150. It says it
right,
shows,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, so that's
Which
pretty darn
is
fast.
blindingly fast. I drove a brand new 2020 Porsche 911 on a racetrack.
Yeah.
And I got it up to 128.
Okay, yeah.
So the fact that they were doing like 20 some miles per hour faster than that is insane.
Yeah. The one thing I do think that's pretty cool that I don't know, because I've driven cars fast, but not quite that fast, not 140 miles an hour. I had the Dodge Monaco. I think I had that up to 120.
Jesus.
Yeah. That thing, actually, it was pretty amazing, but that was up to DeKalb.
Okay.
But the thing I thought was pretty interesting was if you were in a car, you were being jarred around a lot like that, you jostled around and stuff, your vision might start to be a little blurry and stuff.
Yeah.
However, I know that for a fact if you're on a go-kart.
Yeah.
You know that too.
Yeah, tunnel vision.
You do. It's so bizarre because your body is being like shuffled around so much, you feel like you're going 140 miles an hour, and you get that.
There's actually a term for that sort of tunnel vision that you get. It's called seeing the red mist.
Okay.
Because the blood cells in your It's like the blood cells in your eyes start to dilate.
Okay.
So you start to get tunnel vision.
Oh wow.
It's actually like a physical thing that happens.
Yeah.
But so I just thought that was interesting. That growing up, the Bugatti Veyron was the top dog.
Oh, like it was. You guys introduced me to that, yeah.
Which actually, tomorrow morning, which is going to be, this podcast is coming out weeks later, so this will already been up and probably already removed.
Okay.
I'm posting a 2006 Bugatti Veyron review.
Wait, when did you do that?
I didn't. I just made the thumbnail in the style that I do my thumbnail, and I go, "What's up, guys?" And then there's this meme going around from Mario Kart, and it says, "You just got coconut mauled," because the coconut mall is one of the tracks on Mario Kart.
Okay.
And it just starts playing the coconut mall music really loud.
Oh my god!
It's like, send this to 10 of your friends to totally coconut maul them.
Okay.
It's like it's the new version of Rick rolling.
Gotcha, yeah. Which I love, by the way. I think it's a totally great, harmless thing to do, and it's hilarious. I think
so we'll
great.
See how that does. Tomorrow morning at 8, people are going to get notified of a 2006 Bugatti Veyron review, and they're going to get coconut mauled.
Coconut mauled.
Yeah,
okay.
It's just,
okay.
But yeah.
Nice, very good.
Nice little Veyron. Anyway, I had to look up what transmission was in the Veyron so I could make the description look legit. It's a 7-speed, which I thought was kind of low for a car that does 253 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And then you're just cruising at the top speed. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. More trivia. So this is a fun one. And I thought you'd like this because it has to do with Ford Model Ts.
No, I hate it.
At the house party, Dom says to Brian, "You can have any beer you want as long as it's a Corona."
Yes.
Do you know what this is a callback to?
No, I just thought it was.
So this is a callback to Henry Ford when the Model T came out, and he said you can have it in any color as long as it's black.
Yes.
Which the more and more I learn about Henry Ford, first of all, really disliked the Jews.
Yeah.
Really hated the Jews.
Yeah, I'm finding that out now he did.
Which I did so many presentations about him in elementary school.
Yeah.
For History Day or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Did not know I was supporting that atrocity.
Yeah, that's pretty awful. That is really, really awful.
But also, it says later, I have a whole paragraph here, but I'm not going to read it. Basically, they're like, Model Ts were also offered in other colors. I mean, later on, okay. Originally, they were only offered in black because black paint dried the fastest.
Oh.
But then you could get them in other colors later on.
Right. So he was just being a jerk.
Yeah, I mean, he was just
he's just a jerk.
Well, I mean, here's the thing: is hating a whole race of people takes up a lot of time. So I'm sure he wasn't out here giving these stellar quotes when he was writing his pen pal in Germany.
He was a jerk. I always, though, I do like that quote by Abraham Lincoln that said, "Facebook is really crummy." And
Abraham
Lincoln actually said that. He said Facebook.
Yeah, and there's always like a Marilyn Monroe one where it's like Instagram doesn't even have the best filters, and it's like Marilyn Monroe, whatever.
So anyway.
Two more trivia ones.
Okay.
These two are my
All
favorites.
Right. Good.
I don't know which one I want to end with.
Oh boy.
Ooh, okay. I know which one I want to end with. Okay. So Dominic Toretto's black muscle car is a 1970 Dodge Charger with a 528 cubic inch supercharged Hemi and a 727 automatic transmission. Blah blah blah. It's the same body style as the General Lee. It's 1 year newer, so the General Lee is a 69 and this is a 70.
Right. Yeah.
But this is what bringing back Herbie the Love Bug.
Oh,
I said
wow,
I would earlier.
You come back full circle. Callback. Very good.
I'm Zachy Comebacks.
All right. Good. Yeah.
After filming the crash at the end of the film, spoiler,
yes.
The same 1970 Charger would end up in the opening scenes of Herbie Fully Loaded as a car in the junkyard.
No.
So that prop car,
yes.
not prop car, it was an actual Charger that they crashed.
Right.
Would later, in the 2005 movie, so 4 years later, it was in the opening scene. There's a black crushed Charger with a different hood. They put a flat hood on it. But it's the actual filming Fast and Furious car is in Herbie Fully Loaded with Lindsay Lohan.
Was Vin Diesel still in the driver's seat? Was he sitting there and waving?
He was glumped over the steering wheel. No,
that's pretty gross.
But it was actually the actual filming prop car. So that prop car has been in 2 different movies, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. I mean, there's a whole thing we could talk about the Herbie movies. I mean, there is a very big
we definitely will.
Following with those.
Michael Keaton's in it.
Yeah.
In the new one, the Herbie Fully Loaded. Michael
Keaton's.
I was like, what is this guy not done? This guy's got range.
I know.
Michael Keaton's got range.
He's been Batman, Mr. Mom. He's been,
the villain in Spider-Man.
Villain in Spider-Man.
Birdman,
the founder of McDonald's.
I was going to say, he's the founder of McDonald's.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally, every funny, the other guys, he's the
Yes, the other guys, he's hilarious in.
He's in tons and tons of stuff. Yeah, you talk about range. Oh my gosh, this is just like, he just can do any character.
I think the only guy who rivals him for range is Bryan Cranston.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh.
Incredible range.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Incredible range.
To be the dad and Malcolm in the middle.
And then go to Walter White, who's murdering Mexican drug cartels.
Right.
Like
exactly.
it's
And to be great in both of them.
Did you ever see? This is totally off topic, but did you ever see they got the mom from Malcolm in the Middle to shoot a scene with Breaking Bad where they actually filmed this as a gag where Walter wakes up. Yeah. And he wakes up next to the mom from Malcolm in the Middle.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
he's like, I had a dream I was a drug lord and like all this stuff. And she's like, go back to bad.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes,
it warms my heart that they went out of their way to film that.
It is. Yeah, it's amazing when there's an actor like that, like truly. Is it Bryan Cranston?
Bryan Cranston.
When you have someone like that who can literally do everything, I was talking we were talking about the other day about true entertainers. There are some people out there that are amazing entertainers.
100%.
They're singers, dancers, they're actors. They can be comedians. They can do all this stuff, and those are so rare. Those people are just amazing to me. But yeah, I mean, and then you have some that really can only do
one or two things.
So. Yeah, I mean, not to jump into the next movie, but in Too Fast, Too Furious, one of the things that I think, and we'll talk about this too, that's the weirdest shot is when Paul Walker's walking away at the end of the movie. Again, spoiler alerts.
Yeah.
And he talks to the other guy, Tyrone.
Yeah. His name's Roman Pierce in the movie.
Roman Pierce, thank you. So he's talking to him, and they're walking away, and they've got the money strapped to them.
Yeah.
And watch this when you watch it again. He like pulls up his shirt and he's like, I got some money or whatever. But he's like looking at no one. He's like staring off.
Oh, really?
It's the weirdest, like most.
I was paying attention to the boat they drove a car into.
Yeah. Well, that you know about the story about the boat, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that when we get to that movie.
Put a pin in that.
Yes, because that's an interesting thing too. Lots of fun stuff to talk about in the other movies. But But I was gonna say, but getting back to that though, about different actors and different stuff. I don't know. I don't see. Was Paul Walker in a lot of other stuff? I mean, I don't know if he.
That's the thing. He really wasn't.
Okay.
Because
I don't know.
Well, okay, he was, but like nothing that we would like know. Like it's not like.
Is it all like Hallmark Classic? It's like
no, it's not near. Don't ever disrespect him like that ever again. He was not a Hallmark actor, but like,
you never know.
there's like he did some stuff when he was younger, and he did another action movie in the mid 2000s. I forget the name of it, and it was like
Starship Troopers.
No.
Oh. I don't know.
He definitely got He was the Fast and Furious guy.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I thought he always fit the part very well.
Yeah.
I thought he always did a good job, and he kind of became the face of Fast and Furious.
Yeah, I mean, for that character in that series, he was fine.
Right.
He was adequate. I mean, obviously, he's a very handsome guy. He fits the bill exactly right. And certainly can be that character. So,
and the other thing is that Paul Walker was a huge car enthusiast.
Was he in real life?
In real life,
okay.
So
then that's cool. Then.
Like, there's multiple small movies of him going over to Japan, working on actual GTRs. He owned a GTR that was tuned by Mines, I believe, MINES, which is a huge tuner for GTRs.
Okay.
And it was, sadly, it was over in Japan, and I think he was planning on importing it when it became legal, but of course he passed. His little brother has a white Turbo 2 RX-7 FC, second gen, that has 10,000 miles on it. Donut Media did a video about it. Yeah. It's pretty cool. Yeah. But actually, in the second movie, when he pulls up in the skyline and he skids to the camera, Paul Walker did that himself, one take.
Really?
Yeah. So he.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
He was really truly he had a huge car collection.
All right, so I have more respect for him now, knowing that.
Yeah.
I thought he was just some guy. So that's good to know.
When he signed on to do the Fast and the Furious, he was kind of like that.
Okay.
But then he actually
got into it.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's okay. I give him props for that. That's good.
Last trivia fact here, which is I think my favorite, it's actually the Fast and the Furious paradox.
Okay.
There's a paradox within the world. Ready? It's a big one.
All right. Okay.
Get your tinfoil hat on because
here we go. Conspiracy.
So, when at the party after the first race. The song Area Codes by Ludacris can clearly be heard playing in the background.
Right.
In the later films, Ludacris would go on to play Tej in numerous sequels of the franchise.
Yes.
So it begs the question, did Tej in the... I think is Tej.
Okay.
I think that's how you say it.
I guess.
Did Tej in the Fast and Furious franchise, did he sing the song Area Codes, or is Ludacris a different person within the Fast and Furious world than Tej that they just happen to look alike? You know what I mean?
Yes.
There's a Ludacris song in the first movie.
Which is wild.
Right.
Yeah.
Then they just hired Ludacris for the second one to play a different character. So is he just a doppelganger of Tej? Ludacris and Tej? Are they just doppelgangers? Are they the same person? Is that a surname and then he gave it up to Street Race?
I think... Well, what is the whole thing with all the rappers? I mean, you've got...
Ja Rule.
Ja Rule in the first one.
Ja Rule and Ludacris, I think that's it. I think that's the two. I don't know about all the rappers, but...
So, that's all the rappers.
Both of them.
Both of them. What is the deal with them? No, there is a... But does Ja Rule show up in any other film? In the series?
I don't think so.
Okay, so it's Ludacris, actually, who shows up, and then he, stays on for a couple movies, doesn't he?
He's still on. Okay. And the brand new one that's coming out, he's in it.
Okay. So yeah. So
I mean, that...
So I think Ja Reg, or what...
Ja Rule?
No.
Oh, Tej.
Tej. I just put those two together.
So Tej is Ludacris's name in the Fast and Furious franchise.
Right.
That's who Ludacris plays.
Okay.
But one of Ludacris's songs was in the first movie.
I think in real life, Ludacris was singing that song, in the first movie.
Yeah.
And then he changed his name to change his whole persona and get out of that whole...
And bought a garage in Miami.
Bought a garage in Miami, right?
And jean shorts that go to his ankles.
and then changed his name to Tej.
Yeah.
To just, get away from, society. It's just all the fans and everyone who loves him. Just to get away from all that. And bought a shop where he could work on cars all day.
And have jet skis out the back. They're doing like jet ski races. Right. And he's always like, pay up. And he's always collecting bets.
Exactly. So
man will bet on anything.
Exactly. I guess, these two cockroaches running down the side
bet
of
on the weather. So
it's going to rain. Pay up.
Yeah.
It's going to rain. Yeah. So
but that's all the trivia I have. Okay. Are there any other talking points you wanted to hit with the Fast and the Furious?
No, I think... Again, I go back to the whole thing about entertainment and about... one thing, too, I want to say is I think car movies are a good, and pun intended, a good vehicle for filmmaking. Because, as I told you...
Oh, yeah, your test
theory,
you did.
My theory. So I've been to many dollar stores, and the dollar stores have... the worst possible movies in their bin of movies.
Yeah.
And I love to go and I love to sift through them and I love to get them and watch them. And I shouldn't say they're the worst. Some of them are actually pretty decent, but I have never found, you have, but I have never found a car movie.
It's rare.
In the bins in a dollar store. So obviously they're still being sold. They haven't reached the dollar store bin yet. Which I think we talked about it where, that's where it's like rom-coms.
Yeah, it's a lot of rom-coms, a lot of horror, and a lot of kids movies.
A lot of kids movies, yeah. Those are the movies that tend to end up there.
You know what, though? I just remembered. You know what I did see at the dollar store? This was maybe 5-6 years ago.
Okay.
The Fast and the Furious.
You did not?
Not this one.
Oh.
The 1950s one.
No.
Yep.
Wait, there was a Fast and Furious 50s?
So it wasn't like car. It wasn't like they weren't souping up like Chevy, Chevelles or whatever. I forget what it was about. It wasn't about cars. They actually bought the name for this movie. But there was an original Fast and the Furious from the 50s, I believe. And I remember I saw it and I thought it was a terrible knockoff. Of Fast and Furious, but no, that was actually the original titled one.
Wow. That would be
Let me see if I can pull it up.
Okay, yeah, that would be interesting to see.
So vamp amongst yourself with your theory. Your dollar store theory.
So my dollar store theory is that it proves that the when you make a movie about cars, you're going to have an audience. You're going to be able to sell that movie. 9 times out of 10, I think, you're going to be able to make your money back for the movie. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there because if you don't see it end up in those bins, it's probably okay. And it's funny because this video is so old that they had previews to very, very old movies, 2002.
Oh, yeah, because now Blu-ray, so it doesn't update the previews.
So there was a preview for a movie which basically said, coming this summer to VHS or DVD.
VHS.
But it was like, no, I think it was like DVD. It was coming to DVD, like literally skipping the theater. It was that, it was literally going to skip the theater. So
We might want to watch this.
Uh-oh, what is it?
So I Googled The Fast and the Furious.
Yes.
Or if I used a search engine. If Bing wants to sponsor the show, I'll Bing it next time.
Exactly.
But so it came out February 15th, 1955.
Wow.
Called The Fast and the Furious.
Yep.
And Google says, or Bing, says, a framed man escapes prison and takes a rich woman's Jaguar with her in it. As she tries to escape numerous times, they soon develop feelings for each other and enters a road race that ends in Mexico.
Where Dom.
Right. The two had a child, and that is Dominic Toretto.
Wow, exactly.
John Ireland and Dorothy
Lamar.
I can't read that because it's cut off.
Okay.
Dorothy Malone.
Okay, so interesting.
Oh yeah, it's like an old style Jaguar, like an old Jag.
That's kind of, not totally, but kind of the same, which we could watch this movie too.
Actually, I would be interested to watch the Fast and the Furious.
That would be great. We could do that, but there also was another movie called Grand Theft Auto. I don't know if you remember that.
Okay.
That was with Ron Howard, where they steal a Rolls Royce and they take off on the road, and he leaves with his I think he was engaged to this girl.
1977 film Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
Interesting.
With Ron Howard.
Yeah.
And
wait, he's actually in it?
He's in it.
Oh, he didn't make it?
No, he didn't make it. He's in it. And it's actually a very fun movie because they escape and they go on the road, and it's a beautiful, I can't remember which one it was, but it's a beautiful Rolls Royce. And it's very cool.
Was Ron Howard's directorial debut.
Was it?
He did direct it as well, so he's in it. And
yeah, I mean, it's a fun. I remember it as being a fun movie. I remember seeing it as a kid and thinking, oh, that's really neat. But then it's really hilarious to think about the whole franchise of Grand Theft Auto and the video games.
Yeah,
and stuff.
very different.
Very different. Not exactly a Ron Howard thing.
We should do Yeah, we should watch this one too. That's
so Grand Theft Auto and
they got an air-cooled Porsche on the cover.
Do they?
Yeah.
The Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, original 1955. Yeah.
The original one and Grand Theft Auto. Those are actually two more movies that we should review and watch and talk about because, again, well, at least in Grand Theft Auto, one of the main stars is a Rolls Royce, and that's pretty cool. I mean, that was pretty neat. I just remember there was a movie, I can't remember the name of it, but there was a movie where this woman gets into a car and she's like, she said something like it's a Rolls Royce. That's like the Cadillac of cars.
That's hilarious.
So I was like, oh yeah, that's good. So it was like one little quip in the movie. Yeah. I can't remember what it was.
Is there anything else you want to talk about with the Fast and the Furious?
No. Nothing.
No?
Not
Nothing?
one thing. Not one
Not
thing.
A single thing.
No, I do want to say that what else? There was one thing I was going to say though about the movie. I can't remember.
Highly quoted movie in the car industry. Tuna No Crust. I Almost Had You.
Yeah.
Ton. Everyone quotes that. I Almost Had You. A lot of people when Paul Walker passed were like, remember the Buster.
Okay.
He only gets called Buster like twice in that house party.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That's it.
That's true.
He's like, the Buster brought me back.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Well, and then there was also the thing about Michelle or something, or when the guy's in the first race and the girl says you can have me or something like that.
Oh yeah, it's a weird scene. It's unnecessary.
It's completely unnecessary. Yeah. There are, and that comes into movies a lot, where there's completely unnecessary scenes that really don't pay off at all, and it really is sad,
I'm trying to think of like other quotes. Like 10-second car, people saying stuff and blah, blah, blah. But it's a lot of like Tuna No Cross. Dude, I almost had you. You almost had me. You didn't have your car.
and then I lived my life a quarter mile at a time.
How about the weird part where Dom just admits to beating a guy to death with a wrench?
Yeah.
He's like, now he takes the bus to work.
Yeah.
I never understood that as a kid, by the way, and then I saw it recently, and I was like, oh, he crippled him.
Yeah. Yeah. And,
I thought he was just saying he takes the bus to work now. He's a little bit more eco-friendly.
and he really thinks about the environment. The guy takes a bus to work.
I hit him with a wrench so hard he cared about his emissions.
He cared about his carbon footprint.
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh. No, I think, Nick actually brought this up. I think that the idea of that scene was to show that he wasn't such a terrible person. That he actually had some regrets about beating this guy, and now and then he says he's a school janitor, and takes the bus to work. And I'm like thinking, well, honestly, being a school janitor is not like the worst thing in the world. That's
Yeah.
not like that bad. And
Now he's solving unfinished equations at
right,
Harvard. And
right. It's, talking to Robin Williams.
I was going to say, Robin Williams is his friend or whatever. I still never have seen Good Will Hunting.
You haven't?
Never seen it.
That is a good movie to watch.
I learned that the character's name is Will Hunting.
Yes.
That made me not want to watch it.
Yeah.
Is there a part where they're like, good, Will Hunting, and then just stare in the camera?
They both turn
Yeah.
and break the fourth wall
Yeah.
and look right into the camera and go, good.
I just know that movie from It's Not Your Fault. It's not your fault.
Oh.
Robin Williams was talking to
Oh.
Matt Damon. He's like, it's not your fault.
Well, it is. There are parts of that are very annoying and very, like, you just want to slap him upside his head.
Yeah.
And just be like, you're annoying. And there's, I don't know. There's certain parts of that movie are just annoying. But obviously it won a lot of awards and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it got a lot of critical acclaim. But it completely is not, it's not... it's a movie that I would watch once just to say that I watched it. And then
Yeah, kind of like Dead Poet Society.
Yeah, right. There's
Yeah.
not another reason. Like, again, we went back to this before with the Blues Brothers. I could watch Blues Brothers every night and
Yeah.
probably enjoy it, or like every week, and enjoy it. But I'm not going to watch Good Will Hunting. I'm not going to watch, whatever you just said.
Dead Poet Society.
Which I never saw, by the way. I never saw.
Really?
No.
I don't remember much of it. They all stand on their desks because their teacher's leaving
right.
or something.
So that's
SNL did a hilarious bit about that. Have you seen it?
No.
It's I forget who's in it, but everyone's standing up on the desks and they're like, standing up for their teacher. Like, no, he was teaching us. And then one kid steps up and puts his head into the ceiling fan, and it just sprays blood on everyone in the room. Like, everyone just gets sprayed in this blood, and they're all screaming, and like the head pops onto someone's desk.
Oh my gosh!
Pretty great. But
I do think that there's no cars in that movie.
I don't think there's a single car in Dead Poet Society.
That's interesting too when you think about it. Cars are in a ton of movies. Not many movies. I mean, even the thing like, remember when we were watching The Walking Dead?
Yeah.
And it was that one guy's Winnebago.
Oh yeah.
Remember that? He
Yeah.
had a Winnebago, and that became a big deal.
Yeah, the
That
Winnebago. I mean, in a zombie apocalypse, a Winnebago's a way to go.
Oh yeah.
Little mobile command center.
Exactly, a little mobile home, literally.
On the outskirts of Atlanta.
Yeah, then you just drive around. The zombies come, you pull away.
Yeah,
that's it. Boom, done. Your whole life, is packed in there.
Yeah.
You just pull away. It's the
or
perfect
we could dive in if you want to dive into The Walking Dead. They got first of all, they had a Dodge sponsorship same time that Breaking Bad did. Yeah, so Breaking Bad. Do you remember that randomly they just go out and get a Chrysler 300 and a Challenger? They get a Challenger for his son.
Right.
Total Chrysler sponsorship.
Okay, yeah.
Because there's this weird rev off in their driveway. Do you remember this? It's to the song Bonfire by Knife Party.
Wait, is that in Breaking Bad?
Yeah. Did you watch Breaking Bad all the way through?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, we did. We did.
Yeah, remember because it was ending. And we caught up to all the episodes.
We hustled.
Yeah, we did.
But there's a scene where
a lot of hard work.
Where he's like starting to like spend his money that he's making.
Right.
And he pulls in. It's a Chrysler 300C SRT 8, which was very, very rare. And my friend actually found one and made his license plate Heisenberg, which is awesome.
Wow,
hopefully, I'll review that this year.
That would be fun.
I think he blew a radiator or something.
Yeah.
And then his son
was there manifold danger?
Yeah, danger to manifold.
Danger to manifold.
And then his son pulls up in an orange Challenger.
Right.
With the stripes. And they rev. They're revving at each other, and the camera's going back and forth.
Yes.
It's to a song called Knife Party, or a song called Bonfire by Knife Party.
Okay.
And it's like when the bass drops, they're like revving at each other.
Oh, okay.
But so then that same year, do you remember in The Walking Dead where he steals the Challenger and he's honking in the city in the first season? It's Stephen Yeun's character.
I vaguely remember that.
It's the same car. It like
Is
it's
it really?
it's the Dodge
Wow.
sponsorship.
Wow.
Anyway, getting back to this, in the later seasons they have a Hyundai sponsorship.
No.
And they find and they're using like a 2014
Yeah.
Hyundai, I think it was a Santa Fe,
Mm-hmm.
and they're driving through the apocalypse, whatever. The apocalypse started in that world in 2010.
Okay.
They're driving a 2014 model.
Wow.
So it's just like, is Korea just pumping out these cars? Like, are they just shipping us cars mid-apocalypse? Like, hey, they're all zombies, but we have these new Santa Fe's.
All of our workers are zombies,
Yeah.
but they're still pumping out
Yeah,
cars.
they're still pumping out their brand new Santa Fe with lane keep
it's
assist and blind spot monitoring.
A little bit slower production.
Yeah.
Brains.
That was one of the big gripes. And then actually, in real life, Hyundai made like a Walking Dead edition of one of their cars.
Oh, boy.
I would love to do a video or podcast about all the weird editions of cars. There was a Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 Jeep you could get, which actually one came up for auction recently.
Yeah?
Yeah, which they're super rare. They only made a couple of them. Now you can get like a Star Wars Rogue One.
Yes, you
Nissan
can.
Rogue. Well, you could when Rogue One was a new movie.
And I saw, and you know this very well, but Hot Wheels has a lot of cars. They have a Iron Man car. I don't know if you've seen that. So what they do is they basically take the color scheme of Iron Man.
Oh, yeah.
They put it into a
I
car.
thought you were talking about the Hyundai Kona, which you can get the Iron Man edition of.
You can?
You know, our friend Jeff just picked up that Hyundai
Yes.
Kona. You can get one that's dark gray with a red roof, red mirrors, and it's actually the Iron Man edition of the Hyundai Kona.
Wow. Yeah, it's
You
weird.
got to be a super fan for stuff like that.
I was going to say, you really have to.
The only collaboration I've kind of understood was the Oldsmobile Silhouette from the early 2000s.
Yeah.
There was a Looney Tunes edition that came with a VHS player in it. So
really?
the Looney Tunes, or it might have just been Disney in total.
Okay.
No, I think it was Looney Tunes. The Looney Tunes edition got a VHS player in it, which back then, that was unheard of, having a VHS player in the late 90s in a car.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that. I just can't wait till they bring back 8-tracks to cars.
That's not at all going to happen, but I like that you keep that idea alive.
What did I see the other day? I saw, even the fact of putting a cassette tape in a car. I remember when we got the pickup truck, it had the cassette player, but it also had a CD player. So that was like really cool that you could play both cassettes and CDs.
And I remember you used to make burn CDs. And there were those white CDs with like blue lettering on them.
Yes, I would burn the CDs and then play them in the truck.
When we were young, it was just all James Bond theme songs.
Pretty much.
I was an open book.
We
used to say
we did. We had. I
think
think that was one of the.
You know you did.
Wait, if I close my eyes, it's just like I'm listening to the album.
I just smell that the leather, the hot sticky leather in that truck.
Well, I think it was more
AC
pleather, wasn't it? Plastic leather. I don't know if it was actual leather.
I mean,
I don't think it was actual leather. I think it was pleather, like a plastic leather.
Those '90s Dodge cars, though, they smell a certain way.
Yep.
So last August, I drove that '04 Dodge Intrepid, which had 30,000 miles on it.
Yeah.
It smelled just like the truck.
Did it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something about the plastics and the materials that they use that make them smell the same way, I think.
All early 2000s German cars smell like crayons.
They do?
Very strongly.
Wow, that's really
very,
bizarre.
Very
that's
strongly.
a very odd,
Volkswagens,
very
Mercedes, BMWs from the early 2000s, and late 90s, they all smell like melted crayons.
I think that was a factory spec thing.
Yeah.
Und we will put the crayons. So that it's funny that you say that because there are certain types of cars, and those certain types of cars will always have the same smell.
Japanese imported cars smell a certain way too. I don't know if it's like Japanese air or what.
You were telling me too about the RX-7s. Even when you get into the RX-7, they smell the same.
Yeah.
But and it's true because my RX-7, my 1980 Mazda RX-7 had a certain smell to it, and your car, the red car, You're 80. What was that? 85.
85. They're both 85.
So that had a very, very similar smell
Yeah.
to the car. I mean, it's very. I don't know if it's got to be like the chemicals in the carpet or the chemicals in the plastic or something like that. Yeah. That over time, but it is pretty amazing. But so anything else about the movie that you wanted to talk about? It getting back to that. So anything else you want to finish up on?
I'm trying to think here. Another one. Another highly quoted thing is overnight parts from Japan.
Oh yeah,
we got overnight parts from Japan.
Yes.
That didn't really happen back then.
Yeah.
I mean, we're so spoiled with Amazon now.
Yes, that is true.
That like overnight things from Japan.
Yeah.
Sounds more reasonable.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because I just ordered something from China.
Oh yeah.
And it said it was going to take 12 to 28 business days to get here. So yeah.
They finally came out with a diecast version of my Mazda 3 hatchback.
Oh, cool.
And it's a Tomica, and it would be coming from Hong Kong, and it was like expected delivery June 1st.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right though that we are
spoiled by Amazon Prime. I ordered the film for my Polaroid 2 nights ago.
Yes. How did the Polaroid pictures turn out?
They actually turned out good.
Did they really?
They took forever to develop.
I think that's pretty old film, by the way.
Why?
Because I saw a date that said 7 of 10.
Oh. Good to know.
07 of like 2010. So that might be very old film. Just to take a look at that. But that's very cool. I mean,
that's interesting to literally no one but me. So thanks for talking about it on the podcast. No. What else? Shoot, I just said. Oh, where they're like, the tire marks left at the scene.
Oh yeah, right. That was a certain tire. Yeah,
there's a certain tire, and there's only 3 people in town that sell.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
They must have been street racers because they had a certain tire. Anyone can buy those tires.
You could tell, I guess, tire like size and maybe compound, but not really. I mean, once it's shredded and on the ground, and if you look at a tire mark, how often do you see the actual treads in a tire mark? Unless it's like an off-road tire that has like big gaps.
Yeah,
it's just a solid black line.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no.
I don't know.
There's no forensics for tire marks, really.
I mean, there can be. I think there can be.
You can tell age, how old tire marks are, or like how heavy a vehicle was, but you're not going to get like tire brand like. You're not going to be like, oh, it's only 3 people sell this tire. It's like
they bought this at the Goodyear on the corner of 5th and Main.
Yeah, you're not going to track down receipts for that.
Yeah, that is true. That was one thing that was obviously very weird. And then also the FBI agent in that movie, who I know he's in the next movie. He's He's in Too Fast, Too Furious. And he's a much nicer guy in the second movie.
Yeah.
In the first movie, he's a really.
Oh, he's wearing a Hawaiian shirt in the second movie.
And here's the other thing. Yeah, he does. And here's the other. So he relaxed or something. But here's the thing: is that at one point he says to Brian, he says, "You've got 36 hours to close this case."
Yeah.
Now, they don't do that in real life.
I don't know why they would do that.
Why would they give you? Why would they tell you a time limit? Now, there's probably people out there that are in law enforcement, FBI, and something like, yeah, that's stupid, Gary. You're stupid. Yeah. You don't know anything. That's exactly how we do it. But to say, no, you've got to find these guys in 36 hours, it's like, wait, no, it doesn't work that way. We need to find evidence. We need to go through the proper channels. We have to get approvals. We have to get search warrants. We have to do all sorts of.
We don't even have to talk about the fact that they just gave him a car and they keep giving him modified cars.
Yeah, exactly.
Who has budget for that?
It's FBI.
I guess so.
I guess they have everything. So yeah.
Another thing I wanted to point out about the movie, they take the guy into the garage. They shove his head in the engine bay. He's like, "Where's my engine?" And they start pumping him full of oil. They start spraying him with oil.
Yeah.
I think is
40 weight.
Yeah, he's like, 40 weight.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a weird weight. It's usually 10W30, 5W20. 40's weird, but also. They start pumping it. It's dark.
Yes, That you know
so
what?
It's,
that is right.
It's used oil.
It's used oil. So I don't know. Maybe it was from the drum of used oil, but
It could have been.
But they were pumping it. So in other words, it would have to have been from a spout that you would put into a car. Because you're pumping it from the barrel into the car.
Yeah.
You wouldn't do that if it was waste oil. You know this.
Right.
You've worked in this profession.
I worked at Jiffy Lube. I have put the pumps into those giant oil drums, and it's terrible.
Yes.
It's the worst thing ever.
But like you said, that's the funny thing. You're right. Engine oil.
It's not black.
It's not black.
It's honey colored.
Yeah.
It's like a yellow.
Unless it's used.
Yeah. When it's used and old and burnt and then it's black, but it doesn't get black. So new oil. That's something that like no one on set had really ever changed their own oil before, so they didn't really catch.
Yeah.
I'm sure our boy Craig Lieberman wasn't there that day.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I'm sure that the producer directors and the set people were like, "Oh my gosh, he's using oil. It must be dirty oil.
Yeah.
It must be filthy black oil that we have to." Yeah, it's.
I mean, I think people just think that oil is black.
Right.
And it's not. Well,
crude oil
is because that's the only time people ever see it is crude oil or when it's coming out of a car, which it's already black.
Right. Yeah. If you don't put if you don't put oil in.
Yeah, you wouldn't know.
And you better hope that it comes out dark, because if it doesn't come out dark, it's not doing its job in your car. It's not, protecting anything or picking up anything. So,
trying to think of anything else.
Which reminds me, we have to do a oil change of the Model A. Just want to let you know that.
Oh yeah, and we have to lubricate the distributor.
Yes, we do. There's a lot of stuff.
Shout out Paul Shin for telling us about that.
Exactly.
Have we ever lubricated the distributor?
No,
Sick.
I'm not gonna say that. No, we haven't. We haven't done.
Movie stuff. Apparently, everyone carries around their hundreds in a rubber band, and they use two fingers to just show it.
Yes.
And then that's like an agreed upon amount. Because like literally. Letty, who is played by Michelle Rodriguez, looks over at a guy in a white FD. Remember at Race Wars?
She's angry,
and she just shows the hundreds in between her fingers in a rubber band. And he's like, "All right, that's good."
Right?
Like, hey, let's count it. Let's get a mediary in here. Let's have someone hold on to the money. Nothing.
That's true. There's no escrow fund where they're gonna hold on.
Racing for pink slips.
Yeah.
Which. It just seems weird. Mm-hmm. First of all, I never understood pink slips because our titles here are not pink.
Well, that's the thing is that
our titles are like a purple, I think.
Yeah, it's always been, as long as I can remember, at least in film lore, it's always been racing for pink slips. And I think somewhere there's obviously they had a pink slip. The certificate was probably on a pink piece of paper, whatever. So pink slip's fine. But, yeah, I mean, the other thing is that's an all or nothing thing when you race for pink slips. It's like, okay, my car's gone. Now what do I do? I'm going to walk back to wherever, and I don't know. I just think that's a pretty hefty. Plus, I could have raced someone for the pink slip of the G6 and not lost.
Yeah.
So,
finding out that those Honda Civics in the scene they had D15 engines, 1.5 liter D series, which is a single overhead cam, 102 horsepower engines.
That's smoking.
I mean, I would smoke that.
What did the G6 have?
169 horsepower.
So more than those.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But the G6 was heavy.
Yeah, it's true.
The G6 was heavy. The G6 was 3,500 pounds.
Yes.
Where my new hatchback is like 33 or 31.
Oh, okay, that's pretty darn heavy, yeah.
My RX-7 is 23.
Oh, wow.
And the Miata's 21.
Wow.
The Miata was 2,100 pounds.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
The G6 was heavy. But I'm also coming to realize the G6 was a bigger car than what I have now.
It was.
I never noticed that because sitting in the back seat of the G6 was actually really comfy.
Yes.
It had a comfy back seat where my new Mazda 3, you're shoved in there.
Are you?
Yeah. Like I'm probably going to pick someone up in the back seat tomorrow, so we're going to hang out, and it's like the passenger has to move up. Like it's not
gotcha.
Great, so.
Yeah, it's It's Paul Walker.
Paul Walker.
I don't know what. I just
think
my mind just like
yeah,
went
I mean,
blank.
like, yeah.
Sorry for a second. Anyway, so
I don't think there's any other points I want to talk about. Only movie where Dominic drives a Japanese car.
you mentioned that before,
RX-7
and that's
and the Civic.
interesting. It's interesting. So all the other ones are muscle car, right?
Except I read online that I think in the sixth or eighth, he drives a BMW for a scene.
Okay.
He's German, but other than that, it's always Mopar. It's always American. But yeah.
Yeah, Mopar is that's boy the muscle cars always fascinated me. Always very cool. I drove a Barracuda.
Really, I didn't know that.
I drove a friend's Barracuda.
Yeah.
That thing hauled. Oh my gosh, that thing had a lot of guts.
Yeah.
But I've driven a bunch of cars that really were pretty crazy. But the Barracuda was pretty neat. That was a pretty neat car.
Yeah.
Definitely a muscle car. But yeah, it is funny that the first movie's the only one he drives an import.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's funny too because a lot of times, the first movie in a series is the first time out, and it's like things change and they don't hit their stride until maybe a couple movies in, and then everybody has their own slot that they fit into, and so Dom starts with an
RX-7 is the first thing you see him in.
Yeah, exactly, and then he goes to now that was the third gen, right?
Yeah, it was a third gen RX-7. Yeah.
So then he goes to, the muscle car. Then that becomes his deal.
Yeah.
It's Vin Diesel in the muscle cars.
Yeah, Paul Walker starts off with an Eclipse, goes to the Skyline, but then goes back to Mitsubishi with that green Lancer from the second movie.
Oh yeah.
Which was a Mitsubishi deal. I found out it was a
yeah.
Mitsubishi sponsorship.
Okay.
Why they drove an Eclipse and a Lancer.
Yeah, that's right. Both cars were Mitsubishis, right?
And at that point, I think when that came out, one of those cars wasn't released yet.
Oh.
Actually, now that I think about it, Brian's kind of all over the place. He always ends up in a Nissan GTR.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
In some of the later ones, he has a blue modern GTR, which is what we do get here in the States, an R35. Driven one of those. They're very fast. What? Are you laughing at me? What?
I was yawning.
Oh, okay. I thought he was laughing at me.
It's late. I'm an old man, and it's late. I mean, it's like 8 o'clock at night.
I think it's 9.
No, I think it's 9:45.
9:45. Jeez. I'm getting tired. I woke up at 6.
Yeah. No, I got
working boy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's outline the next movie. In the future, I do want to keep the next movie a secret, and I want the one person to reveal it at the end. Even though we did talk about your next movie. Your pick for the next movie.
Oh, so
next episode.
Wait, do you want
what?
So you want me to, or do you want one person to reveal it at the end of the podcast?
Yeah. So
okay.
So
next time.
Yeah. So what movie are we doing next?
So
this
next
is your
time
pick.
We are doing Cannonball Run.
Cannonball Run with Burt Reynolds and a Countach.
Reynolds.
And that's it. That's all that I care about is Burt Reynolds and Countach's.
A Countach, by the way, racing against a van, because the van that they have is an ambulance.
Honestly, probably pretty tight race. Countach's were not fast.
Well, okay, so but you put the two next to each other, you're gonna think that the Countach is gonna be able to really rip through. And how is although that's a brilliant idea to use an ambulance.
Yeah.
Because who's gonna stop you? But anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves with that thing.
So next week or next episode, I don't know.
Is,
I don't know the intervals that I'm going to put this out in. I'm going to bank episodes before we start putting them out. So.
All right. So this will be episode 52.
This is episode 2.
Oh yeah. So that's what I said. Yeah.
So then when we do Cannonball Run next episode,
yes,
I'm not going to tell you what I picked for the next movie until the end.
Oh, I see. So it's a mystery to me.
Yeah. And then when we do my next movie, then you'll keep it a secret.
Okay.
And this is our planning committee too, by the way. Just on-air planning.
Yeah, I'm going to have to absolutely figure out what the next movie would be after Cannonball Run because And you did get that, right? You got Cannonball Run.
Yeah, I bought
DVD.
it. They had like 8 copies of it, and I thought about buying 2 copies, but I'm like, that's just obnoxious.
No, that is obnoxious. No, I think
$5 movie, Ben Meyer.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think that's going to be fun. So I agree. Don't tell the other person until the end. We'll choose one, and we'll just go.
We'll
with
just
that.
flip-flop back and forth.
Yes, that's
who picks the movies, and then that person is in charge of trying to find the movie.
Yeah. All right, so that we can both watch it.
Yeah.
So that's good. So we definitely have to do that. But yeah, definitely. So it was fun to watch the movie. The Fast and the Furious. It started the whole franchise. And really.
Hopefully, I mean, eventually, I'd like to go through all of them, but.
Oh, we absolutely can.
Yeah.
But it's funny because again, there were some things kind of started here that may or may not go through that whole.
Yeah.
Might be interesting to watch. I want to call it Calvin and Hobbes. It's not Calvin and Hobbes. It's one of the
Hobbs and Shaw.
Hobbs and Shaw. Yeah, that might be. I don't know. I don't know if there's even a car.
I haven't
in that
even
movie.
seen that one.
No,
so no, I know that there's a McLaren 650S, I think, in it.
I think that was almost like at the very end, the very beginning of COVID, is when that came out.
Yeah, might have been.
So that was because I was gonna go see it at the theaters.
Oh,
and then,
yeah.
You know, back when you could go to a movie theater and actually sit and watch a movie on the big screen.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that would be interesting to. I don't know if there's any cars at all in that movie, but I don't think so.
I mean, at this point, I don't even know.
No.
But
so okay.
Cool. The Fast and the Furious. Glad we got that one under our belt. Yep. We will do more in the future, but thank you all for listening. And up next is Cannonball Run, featuring Burt Reynolds and a Countach.
Yep. Sounds good.
Thanks for listening.